What's up YouTube, Saf here on Super Saf TV, and in this video I'm going to be comparing the specs and features of the Samsung Galaxy Note 4 to the Sony Xperia Z3. Now both of these devices were announced yesterday on the same day, and I've had a lot of requests to do this comparison. So what are the key differences between these two devices? Well, do hit that thumbs up button and let's find out. So starting off with the differences in size, the Sony Xperia Z3 is smaller compared to the Note 4, roughly about 7.5mm in terms of height, around about 6.6mm in width, and it's just a millimeter thinner as well. So compact overall, but that is because it has a smaller screen size, 5.2 inches versus the 5.7 inch screen on the Note 4. There's a difference in the type of displays as well. The Note 4 has a Super AMOLED display, whereas the Sony Xperia Z3 has an IPS LCD display, but you've got live color LEDs and the true luminous technology that Sony has. So both of these are going to be very, very vivid and vibrant. And now I'm talking from experience because I've used the Sony Xperia Z2 as well as other Super AMOLED displays, so they are quite vibrant. I would put these on par. I quite like the fact that both of these have colors that pop, and it really looks quite nice. Very bright displays. This will come down to personal preference. Now looking at the resolution, you've got a big difference here. The Sony Xperia Z3 has the same resolution as the Z2, so you've got a full HD display, so that's 1920 by 1080, and it works out to roughly about 424 ppi pixel density. Now that's not bad at all, but the Note 4 goes that step further, and you've got a quad HD display, so that's 2560 by 1440, and that works out to roughly about 515 ppi pixel density. So you've definitely got a big difference here, and it will be noticeable in terms of the sharpness of icons and images and text. This will be noticeable. I mean, to most people at a distance it's not that much of a big deal, but you do have this advantage of the display here on the Note 4. Now in terms of the weight, the Xperia Z3, because it is smaller, also comes in lighter, 23 grams lighter compared to the Note 4. Now you've got a difference in build here as well. The Xperia Z3 continues on from that aluminium frame, and it's got the glass panels on the front and the back. Does feel very premium, and it's also IP65 and 68 certified dust and water resistant. Now with the Note 4, they've gone for something a little bit different here compared to the previous models. You've actually got an aluminium frame, so you've got a metal frame here as you do with the Sony Xperia Z3, and then you've got a plastic back. So now this is a plastic back, but it's got a soft touch finish. It's a textured soft touch finish, which is supposed to feel quite good in the hand. This allows for a removable back, which is an advantage, so they've gone for a bit of a compromise here. Now looking at the internals, so with the Sony Xperia Z3, you've got the Qualcomm Snapdragon 801 processor that's clocked at 2.5 GHz quad core, and you've got the Adreno 330 GPU. Now this is the same as the Xperia Z2, so they've not improved on this, which, you know, is a bit of a downside for me, considering that you are improving the model. It would have been nice to see some improved specs which would make it last a little bit longer. With the Samsung Galaxy Note 4, they've absolutely packed this up. So you've got the Qualcomm Snapdragon 805 processor, and that's quad core at 2.7 GHz, and you've also got the Adreno 420 GPU. So in terms of the processor, the Note 4 definitely gets the edge here. And there's also an octa-core version that's going to be available for certain markets for the Note 4. RAM wise, both of these have 3GB of RAM, which is going to be great for multitasking. And in terms of the storage versions available, the Sony Xperia Z3 comes in the 16GB, and there's also going to be a 32GB version available. The 16GB version is going to be the one across the board and the most easily accessible. Now in terms of the Note 4, you've got a 32GB version. They've not mentioned anything about 64GB version as yet, but this usually is the case, so we can expect one to come later on, but the 32GB version will be the main version here. Both of these do have expandable storage via a micro SD card slot. So with the Xperia Z3, you can expand it up to 128GB, whereas the Note 4, you can only expand it to up to 64GB. Now this is what's confirmed across all reports right now. If this changes, then I will check that out in my full review. Now moving on to the cameras, the rear-facing cameras, the Sony Xperia Z3 has a 20.7 megapixel rear-facing camera, and this is a similar sensor size to most compact cameras out there. Now based on my experience of using the Sony Xperia Z2, it takes some great shots, very vivid and a very sharp, crystal clear shots, and especially at that resolution, it's great. The new feature that they've added here now is that you've got maximum ISO at 3200, so low light is definitely going to be improved on here. This is the highest ISO on any smartphone camera. They're saying usually you can go up to 1600, so they have gone up to 3200, which is great to see here. Now with the Note 4, they've not specified what the sensor size is, but you've got 16 megapixels on here, and it also has optical image stabilization. This is something new that we've not seen on previous Note devices. The Sony Xperia Z3 does have image stabilization, but it's digital image stabilization, so optical image stabilization, that's a hardware feature, is definitely more advantageous. Now in terms of video recording, both of these can film up to 4K, so that's a 2160p, which is great to see. You've also got slow motion on here, 720p at 120 frames a second. Now in terms of the front facing camera, the Sony Xperia Z3 has a 2.2 megapixel front facing camera, which is capable of filming at 1080p HD. Now this is where the Note 4 has the edge, because you've got a 3.7 megapixel front facing camera that's also capable of filming 1080p HD, but it's supposed to be 60% brighter because they have increased the sensitivity of it. And you've got an f1.9 aperture, which is really gonna help for those low light selfies. Now they've really taken the group selfie thing very seriously as well, following on from that Oscar selfie which everyone's seen. It was the most retweeted tweet of all time with the Note 3. So the Note 4, they've actually made the angle wider, so you've got 90 degrees from 77 degrees, so you're going to be able to fit in more people this time. And you've also got a 120 degree mode, so this is a wide selfie mode which you can use kind of like you use a panorama, and you can stitch that together. The phone will stitch that together and give you a very wide selfie. Now operating systems, both of these come with Android KitKat out of the box 4.4.4, so you're going to be getting the latest version. Hopefully this will be upgraded to Android L when that is out, but both of them have their own skins on top. So you've got the Sony UI on top of here, and you've got Samsung's TouchWiz UI on the Note 4. This will come down to personal preference. I find that the Sony UI isn't very intrusive. It's very close to stock Android from what I found, and you have some additional features on here. TouchWiz can seem a little bit intrusive because there is a lot on here, but some of the features are quite useful, which we'll be talking about a little bit later. Now looking at the additional features that both of these devices offer, firstly starting off with the Z3, something new that you've got on here is a PS4 Remote Play. So what this is going to allow you to do is, if you've got PlayStation 4, I think from November time, you are going to be able to remotely play your games on your Xperia Z3 using the controller, the docking controller. So your PS4 could be on in your house upstairs, and you could be downstairs, or you could be in bed, and you could be playing the games of your PS4 onto the Sony Xperia Z3. So this is definitely going to appeal to the gamers out there, something quite nice and unique. You've also got stereo speakers, so you've got front-facing stereo speakers. These aren't as good as something like the M8, but they're definitely better than a rear-facing speaker like you've got on the Note 4. And you've also got built-in noise-cancelling technology on the Sony Xperia Z3, so they are concentrating on the sound here. Now with the Samsung Galaxy Note 4, firstly you've got the fingerprint scanner like you've got with the S5, and you've also got the heart rate monitor at the back, so this is another feature. And then you've got the S Pen, so this is something quite unique on the Note 4, and you've got tons of new features on here. Just to mention a few, you've got Smart Select, which is going to let you click and drag and select lots of pieces of information, text and images, and put them all together. You've also got Snap Note, which is going to let you take a picture of some writing, so on a piece of paper, on a board or something, and it's going to convert that into editable text, which is once again a new great feature. And they've also improved the mics on here. You've got 3 mics, which is definitely going to be useful for meetings and things, so they are sort of aiming for those business users. Now in terms of the batteries, the Sony Xperia Z3 has a 3100 milliamp battery, and it's not removable. They are claiming that you've got 2-day battery life on here. Now this will depend on usage, obviously. I can tell you from experience of using the Sony Xperia Z2 that it had absolutely awesome battery life, and I was really impressed with this. I almost got 2 days on medium use, so I've got no doubt that the Xperia Z3, considering that they've made it a little bit more efficient, is definitely going to work out well here. And it's also got a 1080p screen, so it's not pushing out as many pixels. Now with the Note 4, you've got a 3220 milliamp battery, and they are claiming that it's 7.5% more efficient compared to the Note 3. But the Note does have the advantage of a removable battery, so you can actually remove it and replace it altogether and charge a spare independently. And the other advantage that you've got here as well is that you've got fast charging, so you can go from 0 to 50% in roughly about 30 minutes. So this is definitely a big advantage. I think overall the battery advantage will have to go to the Note 4 here because of those additional features. Now finally, looking at the price, the Sony Xperia Z3, they have confirmed the price here in the UK. It's going to be roughly about £550. In the US, I'd expect it to be roughly about $650. Now this is off contract, so this is just to see the value of the device. they're talking about an October release, so you're going to be getting it in October. The Note 4, they've not confirmed any prices as yet, so you've not got any specifics in terms of pricing, but I'd expect it to be roughly between £600 to £650 in the UK, or roughly between $700 to $750 in the US. Now this is based on the pricing of the Note 3, which released last year, so on release date this is the sort of pricing that you can expect. They're also saying an October release date, no specifics as yet, but the Sony Xperia Z3 is definitely going to be cheaper compared to the Note 4. So those are the key differences between the Samsung Galaxy Note 4 and the Sony Xperia Z3. Now, the Xperia Z3, it's only been 6 months since the Z2. Now, they do this is something we've come to expect from Sony. Every 6 months you get a new device. This is good as well as bad. I mean, the advantage here is that if you do want to get a new Sony phone, you're going to be getting the latest every 6 months. But if you've got a Sony phone, then it's going to be outdated very, very quickly, and it's going to also lose value very, very quickly. So that's something that you've got some advantages of and disadvantages of here as well. The Note 4, they've absolutely packed this with features and specs. Yes, it's going to be a little bit more expensive compared to the Sony Xperia Z3, but you've got all of those additional features, that quad HD display, removable battery, and the improved specs as well. I mean, you've got the Snapdragon 805 here, which is quad core 2.7 GHz. You've got a better GPU as well, so it's going to last you a little bit more in the long run as well. Which do you prefer? Which one would you be going for? Do drop me a comment below and let me know your thoughts. I hope you enjoyed this video and found it useful. If you did, as always, please do hit that thumbs up button for me. It really does help me out. And why not subscribe to the channel? I've got plenty more content coming up on here. Thanks for watching. This is Saf on Super Saf TV. I'll see you next time. If you want to see more regular videos like this one, then be sure to hit the subscribe button, which will be below. If you're on a mobile device, it may be somewhere else. If you want to see my previous related video, then hit the link right here. If you want to stay in touch over Facebook, Twitter, and Google+, then all of the addresses will be there somewhere, as well as direct links in the description below. Okay, if you're still watching, then that means you've not done one of those things, so no. Yeah. Anyway, I'm just gonna go downstairs. See. Okay. There isn't really a downstairs. Anyway. So yeah.